Welcome to Central Avenue. I'm Casey Smith.
And I'm Carol Montgomery. Our theme for the spring edition is safety and the environment. We'll show you how Rocky Flats is working hard to fulfill our commitments.
We'll also bring you up to date on key Rocky Flats issues and planned events. But first, our feature story.
Protecting the health and safety of employees and the environment is without question the most important job at Rocky Flats. In our feature story, we'll meet the people who perform this essential task every day.
Our first priority is the safety of our workers and the public, and the protection of the environment. We will not compromise safety or the protection of the environment. Safety. In the EG&G mission and values statement, the safety of workers, the community, and the environment is given our #1 priority. Ensuring the highest degree of safety is the responsibility of Rocky Flats Department of Health and Safety. Joe Majestic is the H&S Director for Rocky Flats.
The Health and Safety Directorate really exists for one and only one reason, and that's to help the line management function here at the plant protect the health and safety of not only our workers, but of the public.
To best accomplish this goal, the Health and Safety Directorate combines the distinct talents of a number of different professions.
Radiation protection is the largest single group. Supporting radiation protection is radiation measurements, which combines dosimetry and the low-level lab. Health and safety area engineers provide direct interface between health and safety and each production building. Non-radiological disciplines include occupational safety, responsible for compliance with industrial and construction safety standards. Occupational health is staffed by physicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. It provides healthcare and evaluates the effectiveness of worker health and safety programs. Industrial hygiene deals with non-radiological health hazards, such as exposure to chemical, biological, and physical hazards, such as noise. Records and health and safety support systems back up the other groups and maintain important worker health records.
The most valuable asset of the directorate are the people that work not for me, but with me. I have just a spirited group of people with all of the knowledge and capability in the world, and they aggressively and willingly apply it every day.
Central Avenue asked some of these people how they saw their role in keeping our workplace safe.
Our main goal right now on plant site is safety, and we're there to try to make that happen throughout plant site. I have to say that, yes, we're dealing with something that's really a concern to all the people in Denver, but it's departments like ours and the people we have work here that makes this place such a safe place to work, and we're trying harder to make it even safer. So please tell your families and everything, it's a great place, it really is. To make sure that, yes, indeed, what they do on the outside, we do the same thing on the inside, only one better. We make sure it's done.
We feel like we've made some major strides in that. We feel like EG&G has helped us a lot doing this. We're still undergoing some change there, but we think we're headed in the right direction and that we're going to make some good accomplishments.
What I like best about my job is the feeling that I'm doing something very important. I impact the lives of those people that I come into direct contact with the controls or personal measures that I might stipulate to make sure that their job is done well. It brings me great personal satisfaction to know that I've protected someone today.
The safety of the plant workers and the surrounding community requires exceptional efforts. Often, those efforts include meeting challenges and overcoming obstacles.
I like the challenge day to day. I like the fact that every day we have issues that need to be resolved. We tackle them every day and attempt to accomplish as many as we can. It takes a great deal of effort on the part of everybody in the organization to make sure that we pull this off.
We have some tremendous goals to strive for, and I think we can achieve them, and it'll take all of our effort, including all the employees, not just the safety department. Safety is everybody's responsibility.
Admiral Watkins, Secretary of Energy, recently stated that EG&G Rocky Flats would not resume plutonium operations until he is convinced that it is safe. The members of Rocky Flats Health and Safety Team are confident that their and all our efforts are already resulting in a safe, healthy workplace.
We are trendsetters, and I think for the employees to recognize that we are viewed in that manner might be reassuring to them.
I've been here for 22 years in April of this year. It wouldn't bother me a bit having, I have recommended people come out here. I've been in the health and safety organization the entire time with the exception of a few months right at the first. And I think we do an outstanding job to keep this a safe place to work. I think this is one of the safest places to work in Denver.
I think that what we do is important to providing resources to the plant that will enhance plant safety.
I'm very impressed with the dedication that we bring to the Rocky Flats site and our willingness to take on the tough jobs, and we'll get them solved.
I realize that we must be talented. We must strive to do the very best in what we do. That is where the personal challenge is for me, and I'm grateful to be here.
We want compliance with the standards to be the minimally acceptable level of performance at this plant site. We have a lot of work to do. We can improve, and we want to continuously improve. We never want to be satisfied with the level of safety that we're providing. We can do a better job, we want to do a better job, and we will do a better job. But in the meantime, we don't have employees at risk, and we don't think we have the public at risk in any way, shape, or form.
Safety is not a destination, but a journey. The Health and Safety Department puts their best efforts toward advancing that journey, but it is a road we must all travel together. For Central Avenue, this is Terry Rhodes reporting.
Next on Central Avenue, we'll take a look at the issues making headlines at the plant.
But first, we'll turn our building spotlight on Building 460.
Building 460 is Rocky Flats' primary non-nuclear production facility. Completed in 1985, it is also the plant's newest production building. Nearly 600 employees work in 460, which houses one of the most up-to-date machine shops in the nation. Known as a cold building, all processes are defined as non-nuclear. A full complement of metal fabrication equipment is used to manufacture stainless steel and vanadium components. Machining, welding, testing, and assembly operations are carried out on the production floor. Building 460 is also home to administrative offices, research and development, technical writing, and engineering activities. Building 460 and the people who work there play an important and crucial role in the mission of the Rocky Flats plant.
Shortly after EG&G assumed management of Rocky Flats, General Manager Phil Warner presented employees with a mission and values statement designed to help transform operations to a new standard of excellence and define the values that will shape the plant's culture. We asked Warner how the mission and values will govern the management of major issues facing the plant today.
During the last few very hectic months, we've had a lot of opportunity to demonstrate how we live by our values. Clearly, safety to the employees, the public, and the environment is our first priority. I believe our closing off the area east of the 903 pad when the aerial survey demonstrated a potential anomaly in our understanding of the americium-241 showed how we were worried about protecting our employees and our subcontractors. Jack Kirsch shutting down the operation at 881 cleanup when he wasn't sure that we had the procedures in place to protect the dust or resuspension. We're worried about the public. And as you know, the snowstorm we had in March, we were all a little worried about our employees and ourselves, and I think that went off pretty well.
Since early April, much attention has been focused on plutonium that is accumulated in glove box exhaust ducts at the Rocky Flats plant. This issue dates back to a preliminary study completed in September of 1989, which estimated the total amount of plutonium in the ductwork to be 66 kilograms or 146 pounds. Since that time, the plant has initiated a second study utilizing more sensitive measurement equipment. This study is ongoing, but more than 5,500 feet, or roughly 1 mile of the plant's 20 miles of exhaust ducting has been measured. Measurements were performed in areas where the presence of plutonium was likely. Results suggest the actual amount of plutonium in the ductwork is closer to 28 kilograms or 62 pounds, less than half of the original estimate. Glove box exhaust systems are located in plutonium process buildings within the perimeter security zone. They are specially designed to prevent the escape of radioactive materials into the workplace or the environment. Air from the glove box passes through a pre-filter before entering the ductwork. This acts as a first line of defense for plutonium particles that may be suspended. Air then passes through the ductwork and into a bank of 4 high-efficiency particulate air filters, each of which removes 99.95% of all suspended particulates. The air is then monitored and released to the environment. Air leaving the ductwork meets all federal and state requirements and poses no threat to the health and safety of workers or residents in surrounding communities. Additionally, the plutonium in the ductwork poses no radiation exposure problem for employees in process buildings. Dave Van Leuven is the plant's Associate General Manager in charge of defense production.
Our measurements of the radiation that's given off due to the plutonium in the ductworks indicates that it's well below any level of concern, and therefore it's not an exposure problem to the employees, although we would like to reduce the exposure to employees and therefore would have an incentive to either shield it or remove it. As far as the public, the filters provide more than adequate containment to the public, and I do not believe it's a threat to the public.
Employees and their families should not confuse the glove box exhaust ducts with heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC ducts, which move air within the workplace.
Well, I think it's extremely important that people understand that there is no plutonium in any of the HVAC systems which are used to recirculate air through the buildings. The plutonium is isolated to the glove box exhaust ducting, which then goes through a series of filters to an exhaust plenum and then would exit the building. So there's absolutely no possibility that any of this plutonium is being circulated within the buildings or being breathed by any of the employees.
Despite reports to the contrary by the local media, General Manager Phil Warner feels there is absolutely no possibility of a criticality occurring in the ductwork.
We've now confirmed and that we do not have a potential criticality in any of our ducts as we sit. We are making measurements or samples to determine the kind of material and what composition it is to make sure that we can avoid any potential of that in the future.
EG&G management has not yet determined whether the plutonium will be removed from the ductwork or left in place. In either case, safety is the top priority.
Well, I'd like to reassure the employees and their families that our approach here is to focus on the safety questions and to ensure that the environment that people are working in is safe. And if we get any indication that it is not a safe situation, you can be sure we'll take appropriate action.
Efforts to restart plutonium operations are continuing at a brisk pace, and considerable progress has been made. We asked Anson Burlingame, Deputy Associate General Manager of Defense Production Operations, for a status report.
The status of resumption is that we have completed a significant amount of work required by the DOE-approved plan. We have completed red line drawings in 6 of the 7 buildings. We have essentially completed a review of safety analysis reports and operational safety requirements. We're working hard to develop procedures to support operations. We have completed a very large number of inspections, which has generated over 1,200 safety work orders related to resumption. We have reviewed over 1,000 issues identified both by personnel on the site and by external audits. And those issues are being resolved prior to resumption. The long pole in the tent continues to be developing procedures to support the operations and the training and qualification of the people.
Final approval to restart operations will ultimately come from Secretary of Energy Admiral Watkins. However, his approval will be contingent upon a review of resumption activities by oversight committees. At a recent Senate Armed Services Committee hearing, Watkins said, quote, "DOE has not and will not approve any plan for a phased resumption at Rocky Flats until the Advisory Committee on Nuclear Facility Safety and the Defense Nuclear Facilities Safety Board have had an opportunity to review and comment on the plan. I will consider these panels' comments and the findings of departmental evaluations prior to any decision on the resumption of plutonium operations at Rocky Flats." A schedule for the completion of tasks necessary to allow resumption has been submitted by EG&G to the Department of Energy. The schedule calls for resuming operations in buildings 559 and 707 in mid-June, and the remaining production facilities by the end of July. Watkins has emphasized operations will not resume until he is convinced it is safe to do so.
Rocky Flats should remain in the plutonium business for another 20 years, despite long-term plans to phase out the plant. This, according to Secretary of Energy Admiral Watkins. That's good news for employees who may be concerned about their future. This feeling is shared by the manager of DOE's Rocky Flats office, Bob Nelson.
Clearly, all parts of the nuclear weapons business rely on Rocky Flats, both from the production of new weapons and the retirement of old weapons. If there was an agreement with the Soviets in the near term to step away from nuclear weapons, Rocky Flats would be needed for a long, long time to retire the weapons that are in the War Reserve. So I see the operations here going on for a long, long time.
Nelson also said that employment levels at the plant should remain approximately the same throughout the next 20 years.
Since January 1st, Rocky Flats Canine Unit has been providing a new dimension to the plant's security force. The dogs are Belgian Malinois imported from Holland and are specially trained to detect contraband such as drugs and explosives. They're here to provide a deterrent and to protect the safety of plant employees. The canine teams maintain a busy schedule, splitting their time between training exercises and random searches of plant locations.
We do random building searches, parking lots, buildings, locker rooms. When there's no set pattern, we can be in any building at any given time.
Training exercises maintain the dog's interest and effectiveness. Decoys, treated to smell like drugs or explosives, are commonly placed for the dogs to find. When a decoy is located, the dog's reaction is immediate and visible.
Their sniffing increases. Some of the dogs will lick. They'll try to bite the area that the odor's coming from and scratch at it.
Both canines and handlers received extensive training from the Alabama Law Enforcement Officers Training Academy in Acklick, Alabama. The dogs are friendly to strangers, but employees are cautioned not to bother the dogs while they're working.
If we're working with a dog, we ask that the employees not try to distract the dogs or bother them anyway while they're working. When we're not working with them, they're a sociable animal, and that's how they were trained also in Holland and down in Acklick, down in Alabama.
The dogs actually live with their handlers and families when not on the plant site. This serves to strengthen the working relationship necessary to be effective on the job.
It's the best partner I've ever had, and count on him 24 hours a day, and he's a great dog at home. He loves my family, and he's been a great addition to my home, not only here at plant site, but at the home too.
The dog actually knows when we come to work, he's here to work, and when he's at home, I let him, go around the house, just as a member of the family.
The cost for each dog, including its training and the training for its handler, is approximately $25,000. Currently, the canine unit has 3 dogs working. They include Rex, Bruston, and Marco. A 4th dog, Ringo, is slated to begin work in June.
And now, a look at other issues making the news at Rocky Flats.
the Advisory Committee on Nuclear Facility Safety, or AHERN Committee, visited Rocky Flats on April 24th and held a public hearing on April 25th. The committee received briefing from EG&G officials and heard public comments relating to Rocky Flats. The AHERN Committee reports directly to Secretary of Energy Admiral Watkins. Congratulations to the National Management Association scholarship winners. $2,500 scholarships were awarded to David Hunter, son of Dwayne Hunter, in the 881 General Labs, and Amy Mucklebust, daughter of A.V. Mucklebust, in General Accounting. $500 scholarships were awarded to Todd Goodale, son of Susan Goodale, in Training, and Dominic Dezzuti, son of J.L. Dezzuti, in Maintenance. The NMA scholarships are presented each year to recognize children of EG&G employees who have shown outstanding abilities in academics, extracurricular school projects, and community involvement. Rocky Flats has initiated a program to compile all available information on radioactive or hazardous emissions from the Rocky Flats plant. The project will create a public database of all emissions from normal operations and incidents of hazardous releases from the plant. This first-of-a-kind effort will create a baseline of information and help set priorities for future studies.
Our focus story is next on Central Avenue.
But first, we'll take time out for Fun Day.
Mark your calendars for Rocky Flats' annual Fun Day Family Picnic at Lakeside Amusement Park. Gates open at 11 a.m. Unlimited rides start at 12 noon. Fun Day is sure to be a great time for the entire family. Tickets cost $3 in advance and $5 at the door. For more information, contact Mary Singer at 966-2199. See you there.
When you look at Rocky Flats, what you see depends upon your point of view. Researchers from Colorado State University are spending a lot of time looking at the plant's buffer zone, and what they're seeing is a refuge for native Colorado wildlife.
Rocky Flats Buffer Zone is a 6,166-acre land preserve that surrounds the main plant area. The zone was originally intended to provide a buffer between the plant and surrounding urban areas, but it also provides a welcome haven for a wide variety of front-range plant and animal life. EG&G has contracted with the Colorado State University Department of Radiology and Radiation Biology to conduct research in the buffer zone. Laura Frick, manager of the National Environmental Policy Act Division, is coordinating the study for EG&G Rocky Flats.
We're trying to accomplish a very thorough and in-depth evaluation of the environment and the ecosystems that are in the buffer zone in and around Rocky Flats plant. We will be repeating some of the studies that were done in the 1970s in terms of the plutonium and americium contamination presently in the environment from previous contamination incidents, and how those are impacting the vegetation and the wildlife, and what is the difference in their impacts between now versus the 1970s.
The study focuses primarily on vegetation, small mammals, and the plant's mule deer population. The project is headed by Dr. Ward Whicker, a nationally recognized expert in the field of radioecology and a professor at Colorado State University.
Well, I think the buffer zone is a very unique area because it has been protected from human disturbance for, maybe 40 years or so, and there are very few places like that left along the front range of the Rocky Mountains because of all the development that's been taking place. So ecologically speaking, I would say the buffer zone is extremely valuable. It harbors a vast array of plant and animal life, which would be kind of a snapshot of the past. You know, much of the front range of Colorado would have been much like the buffer zone of Rocky Flats hundreds of years ago.
Field research has been underway for several months. This involves removing samples of plant and animal life from the buffer zone for laboratory study. Plant and soil specimens have been transplanted to the CSU greenhouse. Small mammals are captured on site and taken to CSU labs for analysis. Graduate student Sue Duffy is assisting with the trapping and analysis of the plant's small mammal population.
We come out in the afternoon, in the late afternoon, and we'll bait the traps. And the next morning, early, we come back out and we check the traps. And if we find an animal, we remove him from the trap, we take him back to the lab, and They'll be dissected later, and the tissues and the bone and hide will be analyzed. We'll be looking for transuranic elements. That's plutonium, uranium, thorium, and americium. Greater than 99% of the plutonium we find is in the soil. So there's a very, very low concentration in the small mammals that we'll be trapping. And even what's found in the soil is very low.
The plant's mule deer are by far the most visible resident of the buffer zone. Bill Aldridge, noted wildlife biologist and CSU professor, has spent a great deal of time studying the Rocky Flats deer population.
The work that we're doing here now with the deer at Rocky Flats is designed to find out how deer use the environments around the Rocky Flats buffer zone. And what we've done is we've captured 25 adult female deer here from the environs at Rocky Flats and fitted each of those with a frequency-specific radio collar, which is nothing more than a fancy word for their own radio stations. Each deer is like dialing up a station on the radio in your car. So we have a receiver with us that's just like a radio in your car. We go around in the field, adjust the dial to frequency 148.050, and that picks up only that deer transmitting on that frequency. That enables us to locate the deer wherever they are at Rocky Flats at any point in time. Well, our conclusion in the 70s was, and I think it's still a preliminary conclusion now, is that this deer herd would not be here in the status that it is were it not for the Rocky Flats plant. It's the protection and the seclusion that's offered by the buffer zone around the plant that affords deer this good habitat that they have.
While the plant does provide a haven for the deer, it also poses certain problems. The same problems that appear anytime humans and animals live in close proximity.
The plant site is a big benefit to the deer. The problem associated with it is probably the high-speed traffic in and out of this plant site. There are a number of road kills. There's certainly the hazard to injuring and harming human beings from those highway interactions. At this point in time, that's the largest hazard I see from the plant.
Clearly, I think the impacts on the environment from roads, buildings, asphalted areas, earth moving, and so forth are the principal impacts. I have no evidence whatsoever that contaminants in the environment at Rocky Flats are causing toxic impacts on plants or animals.
Dr. Wicker also feels that media attention focused on Rocky Flats has heightened the concerns of local citizens, concerns he feels may be unfounded.
Rocky Flats probably gets a lot of negative publicity just because of what it does and because it's adjacent to a large metropolitan area. And clearly, I think the media has contributed to fears of the general public. I really think that that most of this fear is really a psychological problem rather than a real problem. Knowing what I do know about the plant and based on the measurements we've made and based upon what I know about the risks from radioactivity in the environment, I would not at all be afraid to live right next to Rocky Flats. And I really believe that, and I say that in all sincerity.
The CSU study is a long-term project scheduled to run through 1994. As more data is gathered and processed, a clearer picture of the plant's impact on this valuable environmental resource will emerge. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you additional information as it becomes available. For Central Avenue, this is Tracy Smith.
Next, in our perspective story, we'll look at 3 positive environmental programs currently underway at Rocky Flats.
But first, let's take time to recognize members of the Building 460 Cash Can Club.
Central Avenue salutes the Cash Can Club and its founders, Ted Ziegler, Rosalie Roth, Steve Hoover, Joanne Klein, E.D. White, E.L. Walker, and Dwayne Ziegler. Each month, these dedicated individuals collect a minimum of $1 and 1 can of food from 148 community-minded club members in Building 460. Proceeds are distributed to elderly, retarded, and other needy individuals in Adams and Jefferson County. Central Avenue is proud to recognize all club members for their invaluable contributions to those less fortunate.
With the 90s, we have entered a decade of environmental awareness for Colorado and the nation. In our perspective story, we'll show you how Rocky Flats has been quietly demonstrating its commitment to ensuring the safety, quality, and protection of our environment.
It's safe to say that Rocky Flats has a high profile in these parts. Not only is the plant visible from almost anywhere in the area, it continues to be the focus of citizens groups, politicians, and of course the media. But rarely do these groups focus on positive plant programs like environmental restoration. Tom Greengard is the manager of environmental restoration for Rocky Flats.
The purpose of environmental restoration at Rocky Flats is to investigate and clean up old contaminated waste sites. We do this in 5 stages: preliminary assessment and site investigations, remedial investigations to identify the extent and magnitude of contaminated soil and water, feasibility studies to develop engineering solutions to the problem, engineering designs where we come in with detailed plans and specifications for remedial action, and implementation of the remedial action. The final stage is performance assessment, where we evaluate the effectiveness of the remedial action.
Rocky Flats has identified a number of sites that will require cleanup in the coming years. The 3 top priority sites include the 881 hillside, the 903 pad and East Trenches area, and the solar ponds.
The type of incidents that caused contamination at Rocky Flats included spills, storage areas where there were leaking drums. There were waste disposal areas that also contaminated the ground.
The first environmental restoration project began with the 881 hillside earlier this year. According to Greengard, all of the sites can be cleaned up and approved for unrestricted use.
When we are done cleaning up the contaminated sites at Rocky Flats, the land will be unrestricted for most land uses. There's been a lot of talk in the press about a national sacrifice zone, and that is not true. We do not see any place where it won't be able to be cleaned up. However, it will take a big commitment of resources on the part of our government if they want to spend the money to clean up the plant entirely.
Rocky Flats' commitment doesn't end with environmental restoration. Waste minimization is yet another way that Rocky Flats is working to improve operations. Gordon Hickel is manager of environmental and waste programs.
There are a number of reasons that the waste minimization program at Rocky Flats is important. First of all, I think we as a facility need to be aware of these things from an environmental standpoint. Waste minimization is a key issue overall. And then secondly, there are numerous regulations and DOE orders that require that we implement waste minimization.
One shining example of waste minimization at Rocky Flats is paper recycling. The program began in April of 1988 and is based upon employee participation. Jan Watson is the program coordinator.
Our paper recycling program is very simple. We put boxes in most of the office areas outside of the PSC. Paper is put into them, we collect it, and then we send it off-site to be recycled.
The program may be simple, but it works. In the last 2 years, more than 260 tons of paper have been recycled. Let's look at that figure another way. For every ton of paper recycled, we save 17 trees. So in the last 2 years, nearly 4,500 trees have been spared. Paper collected at Rocky Flats is sold to Tri-R recyclers, where it is shredded, baled, and then shipped to a paper manufacturer. Rocky Flats' program is even going one step further, ensuring that paper recyclers have a market for their products.
The biggest problem that some of the recycling plants are having is finding a market for the paper once they've recycled it. So one of the things that we're doing is trying to create a market. We're trying to change our plant standards so that all of our copier paper, all of our letterhead is used, we use recycled paper for it. So we'll be creating a market for the paper that we actually recycle.
Another waste minimization program targets hazardous solvents used to clean and degrease components fabricated at Rocky Flats. Since 1987, the plant has maintained a multi-organizational task force whose goal is the total elimination of halogenated solvents used at the plant. According to Maureen McDonald, manager of materials technology, the program has been very successful.
Yes, the plant has eliminated 90% of the solvents used outside of the PSC. The remaining use points are generally we are waiting for equipment to be installed. There aren't really that many technical issues left outside the PSC. We have been focusing since last summer on the PSC and eliminating the use points therein.
Throughout the program, employees from the production floor were included in the decision-making process. The team has worked hard to ensure that solvent replacements maintain the high-quality standards required for weapons production.
There is no compromise in product integrity. It's been an important criteria that any substitute that we implement is as effective in cleaning as the present or the originally used solvent. An operator on the floor may say that it requires a little more elbow grease in many instances. I think we need to look at this as this is what we are doing to help our environment.
The benefits of this program are many and include a reduction in the generation of regulated wastes and decreased operating expenses. But more important are the benefits to employee safety and the environment.
The main benefit of reduction of halogenated solvents is a decrease in the depletion of the ozone layer. The other benefit with the elimination of carbon tetrachloride is the elimination of the use of a carcinogen.
The Rocky Flats Solvent Elimination Program is not unique. Other industries are also moving to reduce or eliminate the use of these hazardous materials. However, the Rocky Flats program is setting an example for others to follow.
We began a lot earlier, we've been a lot more aggressive, and we've been more successful. And in fact, we hosted a seminar over a year ago for area industry so that they could learn from what we have done at our program. In addition, we're a leader in the complex and been recognized with the DOE award.
Environmental restoration, paper recycling, and solvent elimination. These programs are only a sampling of many similar undertakings at Rocky Flats. And while it's true that the plant hasn't solved all of its problems, programs like these suggest that Rocky Flats is on the right track, and that both management and employees are dedicated to working in a manner that is both environmentally sound and productive. For Central Avenue, this is Tracy Smith.
That's it for the spring edition of Central Avenue. We hope you enjoyed the show.
We'd also like to thank those of you who returned your response cards from the last program. We've received more than 800 cards, and we're trying to incorporate your comments into the show.
We've enclosed another response card with this program, and we're looking forward to hearing from you again. As before, send your cards through the plant mail to Employee Communications, Building 111.
Thanks for watching.